We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
When John was talking about how, community is a big role in this bar, it really is true. Like, I've lived in so many neighborhoods in San Francisco, and this neighborhood in particular, and kind of this bar in particular, it's special. Like, people know their neighbors here.
That was Minibar Operations Manager Erin Kehoe. I'm Jeff Hunt, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast celebrating the people and places that make this city so special. Welcome to the last episode of Season 5. This is part 3 of our episode on Minibar. In it, we meet Erin. Erin is part of a family that has been in San Francisco for 6 generations, and California going back to when it was part of Mexico. She'll talk about growing up in the city in the 80s and 90s, working in nightlife here, and her experiences both behind the bar and with the art on the walls at Minibar. The opening party for our show, Hungry Ghosts, will be at Minibar on Thursday, August 17th, starting at 6 p.m. Check out our socials for details over the coming days and weeks, and we hope to see you there. We've got some reruns lined up for y'all, and we'll be back with new episodes for you this fall. Thanks so much for listening. And now, here's Erin.
I'm Erin Kehoe. You're talking to me because I am the operations manager at Minibar.
So, you're a 6th generation San Franciscan?
Just throw it all out there right away.
Let's dig into that. How many generations back are you familiar with the stories? Because that's a minute.
Yeah, so my whole young life, I thought I was a 3rd generation San Franciscan. But
a paltry 3rd.
I know. Ugh, poo-poo.
We don't want you.
And we thought that we were just Irish, our Irish immigrant family members came here turn of the century, but turns out my uncle started researching the family because my grandma was orphaned when she was young, so we didn't have a lot of that.
That throws things off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my uncle started researching the family. It turns out I am 6th generation native San Franciscan born.
Amazing.
8th generation Californian when it was still Mexico, as far back as we can tell. We don't have anything beyond that.
Okay. I think if you're born and raised, you have to tell us what hospital you were born in. Assuming you were born in a hospital.
I was born at Kaiser, same as John.
Double.
In fact, his mom may very well have delivered my twin sister and I.
Okay. Let's just leave it at it's possible. Like, you don't need to dig that.
Knows?
Yeah.
Well, John suggested it, actually, because I didn't know that his mom worked there until not that long ago.
And you just kind of brushed over something that you are a twin.
I'm an identical twin. My mom is also a twin.
Okay.
My grandma had 4 sets, which is wild. My mom only had 1 set, me and my sister, but she didn't even know she was having twins.
Had at least 8 children?
She had 12.
Oh, God. So 4 that weren't.
9 of whom survived.
Right.
But this was, back in the 40s and 50s.
Right, yeah. Right. Okay. So, and do you know anything more about you mentioned your grandmother, like, California. Is there anything else, or should we move on now to you?
I mean, there's always fun stuff in families, right? My dad was a firefighter here in San Francisco, like my whole young life growing up. So, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't fully grow up in San Francisco. We grew up mostly in South City.
Okay.
But,
was he a firefighter in 89?
What's that?
Was he a firefighter in 89?
He was. We were actually in Virginia at the time on vacation when the earthquake hit, but my dad did leave under the pretense of having to help out, but turns out I think he just wanted to get away from his wife and kids, so we stayed in Virginia Beach, actually, so it was totally fun for us, and he came home. He did help.
An earthquake story I haven't heard so far. I've heard a lot of 89 earthquake stories on this podcast, and that's one I haven't
Nothing happened to our house, though, so
good.
Thankfully.
So did you said Y'all lived in South City, or?
We lived in South City. We spent a lot of time at my grandma's house in the Sunset. That was like our family home. My grandparents bought that home, or won it in a lottery, basically. Actually.
Like where one of your parents grew up?
Yes,
or?
my dad and his brothers were all born in that house.
Okay.
And my grandparents moved in the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Oh.
And a lot of people, that's when like a lot of development was going up in the Sunset and all those tract homes being built. And that was in all its glory. But yeah, they moved in the day Pearl Harbor was bombed, and my dad sold it less than 10 years ago. I can't remember the exact year that it was sold.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, no more family home out there.
Oh.
It's fine.
Well, okay, so but if you grew up in South City, and I mean your grandparents' house couldn't have been the only place in San Francisco that you spent significant time in. What are your memories of the city beyond your grandparents' house growing up?
Well, we went to church at a Masonic temple over on Brotherhood Way.
Okay.
We went to church on Saturdays. And so we spent a lot of time kind of over there and then my grandparents' house.
Okay.
But we did what any kids would do, going around and doing the, quote unquote touristy stuff, but it's still entertaining for kids. Like we would go to Ghirardelli Square and like have ice cream sundaes after church, and then go to Emporium like John was talking about downtown. And my grandma always shopped at I Magnin. I remember all of her clothes from there.
Yeah. Malls, arcades, Candlestick, any of that stuff?
We weren't really into sports. I had a friend in 6th grade. Her parents were really into sports, and they would take us to football games at Candlestick. I don't think I saw any baseball games over there, but definitely 49ers games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can we vaguely date you? Like what decade or decades did you grow up?
I was born in 1977.
Okay.
The year Star Wars came out.
Yes.
I'm Gen X as well.
Yeah. And the first showing was here, down on Geary Street.
The first what?
The first showing of Star Wars. I'm blanking. It's an old.
Oh,
it's like
the Coronet Theater.
Coronet, thank you.
Yeah. I actually had the opportunity to go and see the very first. I'm terrible at this, but the very first not remake, but the Star Wars stuff that came out in like the
97.
90s. Yes.
I just Go ahead. I'll share my story with you.
I very casually. I was very young at the time. I was. Oh my God! I was
20.
20.
Yeah.
I was like kind of hanging out with this guy who worked at ILM.
Okay.
And he took me to go see it with the ILM crew at the Coronet Theater.
Because it was still a theater in 97.
And everyone sat down and cheered when their name came up on the credits. It was amazing actually.
So you grew up in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, those are your formative years.
Yeah, I would say more so 90s, honestly. Like my awareness of the world outside of my home.
Right.
We were pretty sheltered growing up. My parents were in like a super conservative religion.
Okay.
And so we...
Not Catholic? Sorry.
No, it was Christian. I guess at the time they would say it was non-denominational. I call it low-key cult. It was kind of like evangelical Judaism, if I were to describe it to people.
Okay.
I tend to connect with people who are Jehovah's Witnesses or previously Jehovah's Witnesses because they were very similar experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sheltered. Coming of age, like end of high school, what were you doing, thinking?
That's when I discovered kind of goth music and bands and industrial stuff. Like, I guess in junior high is when I started listening to The Cure and Susie and the Banshees, the classics, and that's when I started
my language.
Diving into it.
Yeah. That music, but also that scene, or like going to shows or going to clubs or anything like that?
Low key, that scene. Man, we used to listen to Live 105 all the time and would call in when they were giving away tickets.
Yep.
And we would win all the time. And so my twin sister and I, we'd have our mom drop us off at like Slim's. I've been going to Slim's since like the early 90s.
Yep.
And seeing shows and coming full circle and seeing shows now, same bands that I saw then.
Right.
It's amazing.
Did you see The Cure on this latest?
Not this latest, no. I saw them in the 90s, though.
Yeah. I just saw them for my first time right before the pandemic. And I've loved them my entire life. I just never saw them. Saw them finally, and now coming around, everyone is seeing them again, and I'm like,
oh yeah, I heard this last show was amazing.
You have to see The Cure.
I guess the last time I saw them was at BFD, which was like a Live 105 sponsored festival at the Shoreline back in the day. Which, if anyone from Live 105 is listening, please bring back BFD. It was amazing.
Okay, so you're coming of age. Around early 20s, what are you doing?
Pretty much as soon as I turned 18, my twin sister and I were like, we're going to clubs. So we found the Trocadero, which was amazing. They had dancing like 3 or 4 nights of the week, concerts the other nights of the week, sometimes before dancing. And then my friend...
Live and DJ? Wow.
Yeah. I saw so many great shows there and met so many awesome people I'm still friends with to this day who worked security there, who were bartenders there. Like the Trocadero was like, seriously, it was kind of a community venue, really, back then. And so we were like pretty heavily into the goth scene, I guess. Insofar as like just going to it, we weren't like super goth ourselves.
Right.
But we just hung out with all those people and got into the nightlife scene, and I kind of had never looked back. I'm not really a morning person.
Did you start bartending then, or when did that come along?
No, I started bartending when I started working here. I am a bartending noob, I guess, in the practicing sense.
Okay.
But I've been in the service industry for over 20 years.
Doing, name drop some places, maybe?
Well, my very, very first job, I was still in high school. I worked at the Pepper Mill in Daly City, which isn't there anymore, but they still have a casino up in Reno.
Right.
But beyond that, I was working down on Belden Lane downtown.
Yeah.
It was between Kearney, Montgomery, and Bush and Stockton. It was that very European alley down there.
Plouffe?
I worked at B44, which was the Catalan restaurant. I worked at Café Bastille, and then I got a job at Bar Crudo right up the street, and I worked there forever.
Was Bar Crudo sort of your entry into Divisadero life, or like
when it moved over here? Yeah, it was originally next to the Tunnel Top downtown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then Bar Crudo moved to Diviz in 2009, and that is actually how I started coming to Minibar.
Okay. Oh, right, because they had just opened.
Yep, they were open for actually a year at that point.
Right.
Minibar was already open for a year when Bar Crudo moved in.
Yeah. And what did you think? First impressions of Minibar?
Great little neighborhood bar. I didn't hang out here a lot then because my schedule, I was always at work when this place was open. But I met John quickly, and I'm pretty sure it was right around then he was trying to get me to work here. And I was like, I don't know how to bartend. You're crazy.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
Yeah. So then when and how did it happen that you did start working here?
It was in 2021.
Okay.
And my friend Susan, who is our back of house badass manager, was bartending here forever, and I would always come and see her. But she had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to work here to bartend. They needed people. And I was feeling crazy enough to say yes. I'm like, you know what? I have zero experience doing it, but I've had every cocktail known to man. Like, I'm sure I can figure it out.
Right.
I didn't say that at the time, but now I'm saying that.
Yeah. So the first job was just to bartend?
Just to bartend, and then about 4 months later, they asked me if I wanted to manage. So
4 months? That's super... Like, you must have...
They needed somebody.
Okay.
But also, like, I don't know, I take my jobs very seriously when I do them. And I think that they saw that I was somebody that they could count on.
Work ethic.
Yes.
You have a work
Definitely
ethic.
Work ethic.
Yes.
But also, I love it.
Yeah.
I love this industry.
So you're just like, okay, I'll do that. 4 months later. When did the doing art shows part of it?
That apparently was part of the job that I didn't realize when I said yes.
Oh, okay.
I always knew that this was an art bar, but I guess I didn't think about it. And so I didn't even know where to start. It's 2021 still. We're coming out of the pandemic. I don't even know who I know anymore.
Everything is sketchy and
yeah. And so I kind of had a little freak out, but what I did is I just went through the archives of emails and I saw familiar names in it, like Kundun. I was like, I know her. She's an artist. I'll reach out and see if she wants to show again. And then I picked some of the artists who were already in the show, like Dave Anderson is an amazing artist. And he was like, yes, I'll do it. And so I kind of was tiptoeing into it. And then things just kind of started coming my way. But then I met Anita Bashirs, who has more art everywhere. And she and
including the show that's up right now.
The current show is hers.
When this podcast comes out, will be the show.
Yep, exactly.
That's Anita's.
So it was completely fortuitous that she and I met, and now she's one of my really good friends too. It happened really quickly, but she and her business partner Greta Basil have this company where they hang art in different places, and so we get to kind of play off each other and meet different artists together and share the community spirit of the art world.
For us, art is huge. I think you know this about this podcast, but and it's obviously huge for the bar. And I'm just now starting to, SF Gate today had a thing about an event at Savoy Tivoli on Wednesday.
I saw that.
I'm starting to, really not reach out, but, things are coming into my sphere of, there's community here, there's culture, so, I just want to hear, in your words now, a couple years into it, what does it mean for you to be part of this and to have a role in it?
Honestly, I'm honored because I'm proud of my city, and I am definitely the kind of person who loves community and artists and meeting all these people, and I never thought that I would be part of it. I dabbled in art myself, but I'm definitely not what I would consider,
a visual
artist. I have done visual art, but I don't practice it.
Right.
So I think that it feels right, but I'm also still kind of feeling like a guest in this, where I'm you guys have got the art down. I'm just here to kind of be a catalyst, I guess.
Sure.
In showing it.
I can think of other words, conduit, hub. We wouldn't be doing any of this if I didn't meet you.
I wouldn't either, though, if you weren't doing it, right? So I feel like it's symbiotic,
right?
In a way.
Right.
And I don't know, I guess we never sing our own praises, or we tend not to. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just here to kind of give everyone a little lift up.
Awesome. So this is going to be the last podcast for a while for us, because we're leading up, and I've been teasing here and there for our listeners. We are going to be doing an art show here at Mini Bar with you, which thank you, by the way. It's coming up. We're launching on August 17th. The show is called Hungry Ghosts. The theme is rebirth. Some of the things I'm talking about of San Francisco's getting a bad rap. We've also been through some shit. Everyone's been through some shit everywhere. But we're also, fuck that. There's a lot of community, there's a lot of culture here. I guess I just want to hear, in your words, again, what does it mean to, this show that we're doing together is obviously not the first show that y'all have done in the face of all the challenges. But what does it mean to keep it going and we're fucking here, right?
I mean, honestly, with you coming into the fold, it is kind of opening up possibilities, because I've toyed with the idea of doing some video art in here before, but it didn't really pan out. But now with you, there's a podcast, you want to do poetry readings, it's turning into something more interactive, which I was thinking about, but not necessarily acting on.
Right.
And so I think that this is super exciting. This feels like a launching point, if anything.
So the current show that's up at Mini Bar right now, let's tell folks about it.
The current show is freaking awesome. Some of the artists that are in it, actually everything that's in here right now is of San Francisco. So there are paintings, there are stencils, it's mostly paintings and prints and stencils. Everything is based in San Francisco. All the artists live here. Jack Keating is one of them. He
very prolific Jack Keating.
That is an understatement. Yeah. He has 38 paintings painted from experiences on the 38 Geary bus, which is my bus, so soft spot right there. But we have Miss Stencil, we have Millie Kwong, we have Anne Louise Peterson. I think that's it. Is that everybody?
We can do a walk around and edit it later.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I think that's everybody.
Okay.
It wasn't my show, but
right.
Anita crushed it with this show.
Yeah. I mean, we've already kind of sung the praises for anyone who's listening and doesn't know Minibar. The bar itself, the art. I
love this place, though. I do. I kind of want to, like, when John was talking about how, community is a big role in this bar, it really is true. Like, I've lived in so many neighborhoods in San Francisco, and this neighborhood in particular, and kind of this bar in particular, it's special. Like, people know their neighbors here. And as transitory as the city is, and for all the changes that I have seen in my entire lifetime here, as I'm sure John has, like, people come and go, but the ones who care about the city, like, they're the ones who form community, and they're the ones who are special, and they're the ones who come to this bar. And people come in here for the first time, they've lived in the neighborhood for a long time, and they're like, oh my God, I've never been in here. They end up being regulars because everyone who works here is awesome. Like, all my bartenders are awesome. Like, all the regulars are awesome. I was going to say most. All the regulars are 99%. I'm just kidding.
That's a great batting average.
The people who come through here are so special. We are so lucky. We are so lucky to have the people come in here that do. I'm very lucky to have this job. I feel like they gave me an opportunity here that I would not have been given anywhere else. They're like, oh, hey, you have zero experience. Why don't you run this for us? That's insane. But I'm not even going to question what they saw. But yeah, this place is so special. I feel very lucky to be a part of it.
That was Erin Kehoe of Minibar. Be on the lookout for reruns starting next week, when you'll meet or rediscover some of the artists who'll be part of Hungry Ghosts. And follow us on Mastodon and Instagram to be sure you never miss out on the stuff we're up to. We hope to see you all on August 17th at Minibar. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 5th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show. And drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, weird, and healthy. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.